Marvelous!
This has been something of a long time coming. I don't think it's going to come across for the audience, but it's been like, what, 3 weeks?
Not quite.
Really?
No.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, yep.
Okay, 2 weeks since we recorded. Alright. So, we have a format on this show. I forgot to do the wiki skim this time. But, what do you know about Thor?
He's always the god of thunder. He always has a little bit of ego on him. And not much else.
Okay.
I've just seen his personality in a couple cartoons when I was young, and I barely remember those.
So yeah, like I said, I completely forgot to do the actual wiki skim on this guy. I haven't needed to because Thor is only in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Infinite. 2 games that I think I've only touched once each. So I haven't really been that interested in them. Speaking of which, I completely forgot something I did kind of do a wiki skim on a while ago and I forgot his name. In this movie, there is a big suit of armor that spews fire, and I forgot his name. Do you remember his name actually?
Let me see if I have the notes. Nope. I just called it Machine.
Damn. I remember he specifically came up as like an enemy to Thor at times. I just forget exactly what the circumstances were. What I'm more interested in, though, aside from the wiki skim, what do you know about Norse mythology?
Norse mythology? Probably not as much as I like, but I watched an entire channel a little about Norse mythology. Norse mythology, the gods are jerks. There's no word around it. Mm-hmm. They are not perfect beings. In Norse mythology, the gods were just what they are. They can change, not always it's better. In Norse mythology, things just never turned out right, kind of.
I've noticed that in a lot of mythology, unlike Christianity, the gods are typically not like some sort of being that you necessarily look up to. They are things that drive nature, and they're definitely things that you should be respecting. But they're just as stupid and chaotic as humans are, typically.
Yeah.
It lends credence to the idea that the gods created us in their image, actually. And yeah, we reflect that image quite well. We just can't breathe fire. Why didn't they give us that?
Because they can lord over us.
Specifically, though, like Thor and Loki in Norse mythology.
I know Thor in Norse mythology a little bit, not as much as I like. But I know he was a very rambunctious, over-the-top guy. And Loki was the god of tricks. A lot of his stuff when he does tricks is just because, why not?
True to MCU, Loki is not by birth the son of Odin. And from what I've read, although Thor was the one that you should be looking up to more, Loki was the one that the actual Vikings liked more. Because, he's god of being a Viking, really.
Viking tricks, trickery, and many other things like that.
Sorry, I had to finish a Starburst, so I lost track of where we were.
We were on the machines, what Loki and Thor, basically who they were.
There's a few other things I do know about Norse mythology, but I'm actually going to save that for the other movies and put a pin in that, and I'll explain that in a second. So, like I said on this show, we have a format. Typically, we start with the wiki skims. We talk about what we know about these characters, what we know about these situations, and then typically I pass the floor over to you talk about your notes. However, today I'm breaking that format for a very specific reason that I'll reveal at the end. I am going to start first.
Okay.
This movie has by far the most clear, satisfying arc of a character that I've seen. To the point where it almost reveals its hand. You're playing a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And your opponent is just well, here's my hand. I don't care. This is what I'm going to do. It was actually kind of jarring watching it again. I really love the frost giants in this movie as well. I just love the look of them, the a bit of the lore behind them, as well as their designs. Speaking of the Frost Giants, what did you think of that fight scene?
Which fight scene? The Frost Giants?
With the Frost Giants.
I liked it.
I love it.
I liked it. I was surprised by it. I didn't remember anything about it.
I can't exactly explain why I love it so much, though. It's a very simple fight, although it does get kind of Looney Tunes at times.
Thor throwing his hammer and flying all the way through.
Oh yeah, and then it kind of looks like what was that cartoon? I think it might have been Three Stooges, where guys in the ring, and people are like a bunch of people are just coming at this one dude, and he's just knocking them out left and right. They go flying up in the air out of the ring, just
yeah.
Some of that going on in this in this fight scene. It's also about that fight scene where I noticed that every scene has a very clear establishment. They say in filmmaking that every scene should serve a purpose. And while it's a bit hard to detect exactly what that purpose might be in every movie, in this movie, it's crystal clear. The movie wears itself on its sleeve.
It tells you exactly what it is, what it's going to be.
Yes.
Here's what we're going to do.
I wrote down in my notes, Hawkeye. I forget exactly why.
I remember Hawkeye. Hawkeye appeared one part of the movie when Thor was about...
He was going to get the hammer for the first time.
Yeah.
Before he got rejected.
You are not worthy.
Hawkeye sighting. Skip forward quite a bit. The robot, or not robot, because it's not a robot. Yeah. Metal Man, who breathes fire, comes down. That was the most brutal backhand I've ever seen.
You just gave Thor?
That I was caught off guard. I was not prepared for that. How brutal that backhand was. Good lord.
I watched it with my family, and they hated Loki. But even though they watched Loki, the show,
okay,
they hated Loki.
Jesus Christ,
that disrespect.
I don't think I would be prepared for it even if I watched it again. And also, I'm pretty sure I would have loved this movie in theaters and just kind of, on it now.
Yeah.
And that's about all I have for my notes. So take it away.
Well, the first scene in the movie, we don't actually see Thor right away. We go with this reporter, which we don't see, and then you have to realize that Thor is the one who caused most of the problems, like the war. Frost Giants declared war on them, and Thor's ego is a major problem, and Odin sees it. And from what Odin tells his kids when he's the younger, I can see okay, I can see why that would cause problems later down the line. Both of you were born to be kings. Yeah. Only one of you can be.
What a fucked up situation.
I'm that's... No. Don't tell your children that. I was surprised the Watcher, because I know what I've known about him a little bit. I know a little bit about the Watcher, all-seeing thing. Mm-hmm. Let Thor pass. Even though it's explained, I'm still surprised he did that. Even though it's just... I feel like that was a little out of character, but I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like it was obvious to run the back home, little princess, to Thor. I'm oh gosh, you're good. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That scene, I'm if you can't take insults, that's going to trigger you.
Yeah.
I like how they foreshadowed what Loki is when the touch of the Frost Giant.
Yes. So like I mentioned earlier, every scene establishing something. And the fight scene was mostly to establish that Loki's origin, I guess.
I like the Thor being cast out by Odin scene. I don't know why.
It's very... Although we haven't seen much of Thor at that point, it is emotionally charged. I wouldn't say it's an emotional scene, but it's very it's very... You feel the significance.
I like how Thor barely can understand what's going on in the world.
He's very socially awkward.
Yeah, he's when Thor is this out of the world, super confident person, and then as soon as he gets to this world, he immediately starts attacking hospital staff because he thinks he's gotten captured, and he immediately thinks, "Oh, I can just fix this by just getting my hammer." Thor's... I was confused when he said mortal form, because isn't Thor just Thor?
Yeah. Now think about it. I
put Thor mortal form? Question mark?
I missed that in the movie, I guess.
So it's already established that Loki is not Odin's pure son, like in Norse mythology.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, so he has a different mother, and I'll save that. I'll put a pin in that, because...
I like how Thor, like, literally says goodbye to Jane. Like, how he says goodbye to the first time. Like, I'm gonna go get it myself.
Oh, yeah.
Bye!
Oh, goodbye. Man on a mission.
And then as soon as that happens, like, okay, we're leaving this guy alone now. S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up and steals all their stuff. Like,
oh, yeah.
That was, like, immediate pushing them together.
And then they hit him with the car again.
Yeah. He constantly gets hit by a car. I was surprised when the Allfather suddenly went to Odin's sleep at first.
Yes.
I feel like, wouldn't he have prepared for this? But he's putting it off? Why was he putting it off?
I guess he was waiting for... I guess at this point he was trying, or he thought he was going to put Thor as king to take over for him, so that he could then go, like, recover or something. But then Thor was unworthy. Screwed up his plans.
Thor fought, like, still knows how to fight, even in his mortal form.
Insanely strong, too.
Yeah. We see him, like, in the scene where he goes to get his hammer. He just takes out a whole bunch of guys, and...
Like, as Coulson put it, he took out, like, some of his best agents.
Yeah.
Like, tore through them like they were paper, I believe he said?
Yeah. And, like, he just beat the crap out of them. So, even with his, like, mortal form, whatever that means, he still kicked their butts. I like how Loki is subtly manipulating Thor throughout the entire movie.
Yes. Loki is a highlight of the Thor movies in general, but actually he's a highlight of the MCU. He's a really good character.
Yeah.
I guess we're Vikings. Actually, I'll save that for the end.
I like how even Loki can't lift the hammer still. Together.
Yes. It's been interesting to see who can and cannot lift that hammer, and why.
And eventually we'll go into, like, the future episodes, who can lift the hammer.
Yeah. This podcast is looking like a pincushion now. We're putting pins in everything.
I like how Loki, the scene where Loki says Thor is forbidden to return because Allfather died. That was...
Loki up to his usual tricks.
Also, Loki was the one who let the Frost Giants in. I was like, wow.
I'm curious as to why he did it the first time, though.
Yeah, I want to know that.
Maybe I missed it. They might have explained it, but...
I wish Thor's friends would have been explained more.
Yeah, put a pin in that too.
I like how when the machine showed up, it was established early on in the movie, and Loki immediately uses that. Mm-hmm. And then his friends like, why don't they use this as main combat material as the machine wrecks Thor's friends? Loki dying, technically. Not the death scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah, where he gets sucked through the portal? What was that thing?
The Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, but like it's falling into something.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that like a wormhole or?
I don't know. It isn't explained. I have a question. Like, is Thor's person he dated ever come back?
Jane?
Yeah.
Yes. Question over, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I have questions of why she doesn't appear in some of the films.
All right. So I mentioned that was the end of my notes.
Yep.
If you were paying attention, you would know that I lied explicitly to you.
Yep.
I've been putting pins in everything this entire podcast. There is no more room in this podcast to put pins in. So, if you want to take a look, these are my notes. That one page. This one here. Those are my notes. So I wish to compare that to...
I just read... Compare that to...
So, everything from 3 down is just Iron Man 3. I ran into a problem writing notes for this movie. In that, I'd see a scene and be immediately reminded of something that happens later. So, while I have like half a page of notes, by the way. Whereas, like, for Iron Man 3 alone, I have about a page, maybe a little bit more. So the problem is that while I only have like half a page of notes for Thor, I ended up writing another half a page and another half a page for the other movies. I've heard that people actually aren't too fond of this movie. This is a fine movie.
Yeah.
But There's so much about this movie in particular that reminds me of other things in the other movies that I then have questions about. As such, it was like extremely hard to write any sort of or say anything about this movie, really.
Yeah.
Because everything I wanted to say is something that's much more relevant later on.
Yeah. It's hard for me too. So I just wrote general notes.
I do have a question though.
Okay.
Although I technically didn't give you the 24-hour notice of what it was. Loki or Thor? Who do you like more?
I think I like Loki more.
Mm.
But that's the general response. But I also really like Thor.
Alright. So you gotta pick though. Which
Yeah,
one?
but I like Loki more. I said.
Okay.
I said I like Loki more, but I still really like Thor.
Okay.
So that's what I said.
Alright, we're some boring people. I like Loki more too. He's just a much more fascinating character.
Yeah, he's Loki.
As both a villain and a reluctant hero.
Yeah.
Does he qualify as a tragic villain, actually? Or an anti-villain, rather?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
he's just... I don't know how to put him.
He's great. That's what he is.
Yeah, he's great, but I don't want to spoil anything for the future, so I can't put it how my total feelings for him.
Okay.
Because Loki is just very, very...
No. Do I have anything else written down, actually? That was a quick check. Alright. One of the shorter episodes.
True.
But I am glad we got it out of the way. We have a lot to get to in later also, I put a pin in. So, Norse mythology. Never mind, I do have to save that for later. For Thor 3, actually.
Oh.
It gets a bit weird. These naming conventions. Anyway. I guess that's gonna do it for this one.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Like and subscribe. The YouTube algorithm things.